back to Taste for Adventure. We're dissecting BJCP 5B.
That's right.
Kolsch's.
Kolsch beers. That's correct. Yeah. So
very nice.
Kolsch beers are a German ale style. Another kind of nice spring and summertime.
Yeah, something light.
Yep.
Something light, maybe lawnmower beer, you're cooking out, something like that. Just enjoy a nice Kolsch beer on a hot summer day kind of thing.
Yeah, so
nice.
I thought we could try a few Kolsch's. We have one traditional example of the style.
Yes.
And then a couple of American craft interpretations.
Yeah, so we've got Boulevard's American Kolsch. We've got Solemn Oath Lu. And the sort of example of the style is Gaffel's Kolsch.
That's right. So I'm really excited to get into them. I thought maybe we could open the Gaffel while we talk through what the BJCP says about the style.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe we could score through the American challengers.
That would be great. Sort of see how the Americans stack up against the real deal, huh?
That's what I figure we could try.
Very nice. Okay, well let's start with that Gaffel then. Give us kind of a baseline for Kolsch's.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, not my favorite pour, but that's okay. So I'm not used to using a glass like this for a pour.
Yeah.
So what's the deal?
So in Cologne, Germany, where Kolsch's come from, they actually have their own glassware. Now, it is not a tall, narrow mug, but this is kind of the closest thing I have as far as sample size compared to it. The glass is called a stange.
So that's this.
It's that or something very, very similar to that. So that's kind of like a Pilsner glass. A stange is your very, very tall, very, very narrow. It's almost like a scientific flask. Like it's very tall and narrow. So this works it's a pretty close approximation.
Nice. Okay.
And they do that to really show off the light color of the beer.
Yeah.
And,
I'll say, wow.
Yeah.
And it's crystal clear.
It
very
is.
very pale yellow.
And it's a really beautiful, nice color. And then also, when you have less surface area on the top, the foam will do exactly what it did when you poured it.
Oh.
It's going to have a really big foam stand as compared to a super wide top where there's so much more surface area. So the foam can only get so tall because it's spread out.
Right. So it's almost like, when you're watching a cartoon or some kind of idealized version of beer where it's got, it's clear yellow.
Yeah.
It's got that big foam head,
That's
kind
right.
of pouring off the side. So, all right. Can dig it.
Yeah, so we're sampling, not quite in a stange, but in our sample approximation of that.
Yeah. Can't have a sample stange glassware just on hand at all times.
Mm-hmm.
What smells really nice.
So they should have a pretty low malt aroma and have a grainy, sweet malt character. And then sometimes, but not always, it can have a light, estery fruitiness to it.
Okay, so I think that's what I'm getting. Kind of, I had misidentified this actually in my mind as a wheat beer style, but it's not.
So Kolsch's can have some wheat malt, but I think a lot of the traditional examples actually don't.
Okay.
So it's not out of the style to do up to 20% or so of the grain bill as a wheat malt. So it's not like a Hefeweizen or a wheat beer that it has to have wheat in it.
Okay.
And it's going to usually be malted wheat, not flaked wheat, because it should be that really crystal clear, not hazy character.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I can't understate how just transparent this beer is.
So I think of Kolsch as kind of like a German equivalent to almost like an American blonde ale, or maybe like a cream ale. It kind of fits that that nook. Where it's not a lager, it's not a dark beer, and it's not a heavy beer. So it is a kind of a pale, mild ale.
Okay.
And in Germany, it's traditional, actually very similar to the alt beer that we brewed last week, where it is an ale, but then they cold condition it for a little bit of time like really mellow it out and age it. Okay. So Kolsch is very similar. It's just from a different area of Germany, and it's going to be much paler, but similar in alcohol to an alt beer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
very nice.
Pretty approachable, pretty drinkable.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely like this a lot.
And actually, Kolsch beers, that's another one. Germans are very, very particular about their beers and their beer regions. So much like they can't bill their beer an Oktoberfest beer unless it was brewed in Munich for the Oktoberfest festival.
Okay.
Technically, you can't buy a Kolsch unless it was brewed in Cologne, Germany.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like a Kolsch-inspired or a Kolsch-themed beer.
It's like how it's not really cognac if it's not from the cognac region of France.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's Burgundy.
I don't know that much about cognac, but that could be. Yeah.
I can't remember. It's something. It's called something else if it's not from the from there.
Kind of a nice, kind of easier drinking.
Absolutely.
But still very German ale.
Mm-hmm. I get a lot of that malt kind of roastiness.
Yeah, kind of like a graininess.
Yeah.
And then it actually has a fair amount of bitterness.
It does, yeah. And is that what you're getting at when you talk about the fruity esters?
So you have the esters are going to be derived from the fermentation and the yeast. Mm-hmm. The hops are contributing bitterness.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting a little bit of like a spiciness from the hops, like a spicy, maybe a little bit floral type flavor.
Yeah, maybe on the back end, something like that.
But yeah, actually, a little bit more firmly bitter than I expected. So I would actually compare this with an American blonde ale. I think that's probably the closest common equivalent in the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So for aroma on a Kolsch, the BJCP says that the intensity of aromatics is fairly subtle, but is generally balanced, clean, and fresh. For the appearance, it will be very pale gold to light gold, very clear, and a delicate white head that may not persist. Which I think that exactly described the beer that
I would say so.
Yeah. For flavor, it should have a soft, rounded palate comprised of a delicate flavor, balanced between soft yet attenuated malt, an almost imperceptible fruity sweetness from fermentation, and a medium-low to medium bitterness with a delicate dryness and slight crispness in the finish.
Almost imperceptible.
Oh, yes. So it should not have like a heavy, like fruity, like big apple presence, but it can be there lightly. And it does also note that a slight wheat taste is rare, but not a fault, and otherwise is very clean.
Got it.
So, as I said, wheat is an optional ingredient, but it doesn't have to be in there.
Okay.
As far as mouthfeel, it should be medium light to medium bodied, and medium to medium high carbonation.
Okay.
And then for overall impression, it is a clean, crisp, delicately balanced beer, usually with a very subtle fruit and hop character. Mm-hmm. Subdued maltiness throughout leads into a pleasantly well attenuated and refreshing finish.
Well, I would say this beer has that in spades.
Yeah, so I think this is a really nice example.
Absolutely.
Gaffel Kolsch. And actually, I picked this one up at your sister's shop.
Hey, yeah.
So
if you're in Northwest Indiana, in the Griffith area, check out Charcuterie for all of your. It's kind of a it is what it says on the box. They sell meats and cheeses, but they're kind of billed as a specialty grocery store. So yeah, definitely thank you, Valerie and Skip, for that.
Yes. So. That is a little bit about a German Kolsch, and now having just had the German example, love to see how a couple of American craft breweries take on a Kolsch.
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
All right. So what's up next?
We have Solemn Oath Lu. All right. So stick around for the How to Pour a Beer episode, in which we tell you tilt your glasses to avoid a massive amount of head. This one's Lu.
All right, so for tasting, the first thing that we're going to really evaluate is aroma. We can score up to 12 points for aroma. Let's just kind of guide and what are you getting? What are some of your first impressions of the aroma on this one?
It's very similar to the other one. It is very similar to the Gaffel, and that sort of. I'm getting that weediness. I'm getting. Let's see. And then when you get the chance. All
right, so what would you score it for aroma?
I'm pretty confident that this is I think I'm in the 9 camp. I'm up there. I'm up there on it.
All right, so I noted that it has moderate apple esters and grainy malt aroma, and no real hop aromas.
No, I can't pick up any hop bitterness or anything like that.
Yeah, so I scored it an 8 for aroma.
Sure.
I think probably would have gotten a little bit higher if maybe the esters were a little bit lower.
Okay.
And if there was a little bit more hop presence there in the aroma.
Fair enough.
All right, what about appearance?
So you said kind of a pale yellow to light yellow. And this is, once again, crystal clear. I'd say this is more on the light yellow side rather than pale.
Pale. Yeah, it's very light. I would definitely say within the acceptable range.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry, and I mean that could I don't feel bad giving that a 3 at all.
Yeah, I think I would probably score it a 2, just because the head, there's virtually no head to it.
Yeah.
So it appears to be pretty well carbonated. I see the bubbles still kind of rising up in the glass there. But even when you poured it, there was virtually no foam. Which is definitely going to be a knock for me. So I'm going to come in at a 2.
Now to the favorite category, the flavor, the tasting. I've got that graininess.
Yep, grainy. I'm getting a touch of oxidation, which has a little bit papery, a little bit cardboardy in there, kind of in the mid palate.
Interesting. Well, that's not good.
Now, actually, that is probably the most common fault for a Kolsch, because a Kolsch is a style that is intended to be served extremely fresh.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they're also considered to have a pretty short shelf life. So I picked this up as a single at a liquor store. It's even been over a month ago. So who knows how long that had been sitting around. This could even be a beer from a while ago.
Wow. Okay. Not ideal.
Yeah, I mean it's not ruining the beer. But just in a very guided tasting, I am noting some oxidation, a little bit of like a damp cardboard type of flavor, kind of in the mid palate. Are you getting any of that now that I mentioned it?
I've never tasted damp cardboard.
Okay, all right. Well.
So fair enough. Pica be damned. I am getting a little bit of something. So maybe that's what it would be. To the untrained tongue,
Definitely not nearly as bitter as the Gaffel.
No, not so much. It does have minor bitterness. I'm thinking I'm picking up more of that oxidation. Like it's something like in the back of my tongue. It almost feels like there's like a nagging little feeling like in the back.
Yeah. I think this is actually a really very, very smooth beer.
It is.
Again, not a whole lot of hop presence, and that could also indicate that it's been sitting around for a while, maybe a little bit past its prime. Because hops are another thing that degrade pretty quickly. It's always best to have things like IPAs very fresh and not age them, because the hop flavor and aroma can very, very quickly degrade, especially in a highly hopped beer.
Interesting.
It's a style worth drinking.
Yeah, the fresher
very,
the better.
very fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, and that actually makes it a really nice style for the impatient homebrewer. Right. You know, if you don't want to sit around and age a barrel stout or deal with like a sour or anything. Kolsch is a style. Yeah. It's pretty low alcohol. The grain bill and everything is pretty simple to put together. So it's a pretty good recipe if you want to do something a little bit beyond, like an American cream ale, American pale ale. Sure. Try something like a little bit more like old world style without going too crazy, and still have a beer that you can be drinking in just a couple of weeks.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be really nice to just be able to this might be like maybe the perfect training beer.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, you could set it up, get everything done, get it bottled, or, if you've got a, fancy kegerator system, get it on there. And then, just wait a couple of weeks and then just see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a nice intro into brewing.
Actually, I've been thinking about brewing a Kolsch maybe this summer. So maybe we could do that as a kind of an intro to beer.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
That'd be good. Yeah. So we'll think about that one.
Okay.
But
cool.
So kind of adjacent to flavor. I know we haven't scored flavor yet.
Right.
But we have mouthfeel. I kind of feel like those two are kind of married.
They're pretty close
together. Yeah. So do you want to score on flavor real quick?
Yeah. There? What were you noting mostly from flavor, and what was your score?
So I mean, it was just like I did get that, that graininess, which was nice. There was that, slight hop bitterness, which wasn't all that bad. I mean, I just don't have the skilled tongue to pick out that kind of cardboardy or papery taste that you did, but I did notice that something was off. It wasn't altogether an unpleasant experience. I might give this like a 9 or a 10. Half score, maybe.
Okay.
Not unpleasant.
So I probably have this at about a 13.
Oh, wow.
It's easy to kind of over penalize a beer when you do notice like a flaw, or if you're not like overwhelmed by like the flavors and offerings.
Yeah.
But judging it against the guidelines, this should be a very subtle beer.
Okay.
So I think the biggest things I would knock it on are definitely the oxidation.
Yeah.
Should definitely be drunk fresh. And then just kind of the lack of the hop presence. I think the bitterness is there, but it should have a little bit more of aroma and a little bit more flavor of the hops.
Okay.
Not like an IPA level, but it should be a little bit more balanced.
Right.
It's pretty much all that grainy, very clean, grainy malt, a little bit of esters, and then some of that oxidation.
Sure.
I would love to have a very fresh example, or maybe like something from the tap.
That would be nice. At least this might be a taste for adventure first. We finish a beer on camera.
Yeah. All right, and so that kind of leads us back into mouthfeel, which I think you were ready to talk about.
Yeah, so we've got as sort of notes here: comment on body, carbonation, warmth, creaminess, astringency, and other palate sensations.
Yeah, so as we said, Kolsch should be kind of medium light to medium bodied with medium to medium high carbonation.
I would say, I would say that this fits. The carbonation's pretty decent. I mean, lack of headstand withstanding.
I'd probably call it medium carbonation and medium light body. On the lighter end of medium light.
Yeah.
So yeah, still generally within the style parameters. Maybe a touch low on the carbonation.
Maybe.
Especially seeing as it's still just it's really hard to get any kind of foam on this.
Now, do you think that could be an age-related problem as well?
It absolutely could too. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Drink those Kolsch's fresh. These are not beers to cellar and age, and you don't want to do like a 5-year vertical of Kolsch's.
No,
it's just
not.
unless you're like evaluating levels of oxidation in your beer.
Yeah, you probably rapidly age a Kolsch by putting it on like the radiator. Or something.
Yeah, sure.
How to ruin a Kolsch. Stick around for that episode.
So I'll probably give it I'd probably give it like a 4 for mouthfeel.
You think?
Yeah, a little bit of a knock for the carbonation.
Yeah.
What was your score on mouthfeel?
I mean, 4 or 3. You know, that's the other thing is that also not being a beer judge, it's kind of hard to determine. I don't want to have a heavy judging hand, but I also don't want to be too generous.
All right, so what are your overall thoughts and your overall impression score out of 10 allowable?
You know, it's not unpleasant, not wholly unpleasant. Anyway, you know, in sort of my layman's terms, I would have more than one of these. I'm comfortable, I think, giving this like an 8. You know.
Okay.
Just overall, I mean, it's nice to look at. It's not so far removed from the style that it's, you know, just in a different style completely.
Yeah.
So
my main comments for overall is I wish I had it fresh, and it has several signs that indicate that it's probably past its best by date.
Yep.
So I marked it at a 7 for what we have right now, and that put my total at 20... 30. It's still at a 34 for me.
Yeah, I think I have 32.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if this were fresher, it probably would have maybe gotten a higher score. Hard to say.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll keep an eye out for more Solemn Oath beers.
Yeah, and
I haven't given up.
Yeah, and I won't look for them in like the clearance rack anymore. I'm just gonna like. I'll look for them, you know, in the fresh release section.
I mean, the fresher the better for these. Last but not least, we have Boulevard's American Kolsch. If the first one, you know, if it's Gaffel Kolsch, you know, straight from Cologne, Germany, you know, this would be the American challenger, it sounds like.
Sounds like it, yeah. And unlike a number of styles that we've talked about, there is no American Kolsch guideline in the BJCP.
Okay, so no category or anything. No, it's all just going to fall under 5B.
That's right. It's all 5B.
Great. Yeah. Well, let's see how Boulevard did.
You humored me and filled out the score sheet. Maybe should I score this one like more like a lay person?
Hey, if you think you can.
Okay, all right.
If you think you can remember how to score a beer like not a beer judge.
It's like forget everything you ever learned about beer judging. So let's try that.
Yep.
Wear your shoes for this beer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you know if we're going layperson route, what are you thinking here?
All right, so I'm at a bar, not really evaluating anything, just like I like
after
Kolsch style.
Work, it's after work. It's in the middle of middle of summer, spring kind of thing. You know, you're on the patio. So
I would say that as a beer judge, I'm gonna evaluate the aroma first.
Yeah.
But as somebody handing me a glass, not really in beer judge mode, I'm gonna look at it first.
Sure.
Right.
Oh,
I think that's a very common thing.
Yeah.
So, and the first thing that really stands out to me with this beer is that it is very, very clear.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
but it has like no foam.
It foamed up really quick and then just died. It's gone.
So, those are some of the things that that definitely stand out to me first.
Yeah. A little bit of bitterness. Not much. I feel like I almost got maybe a little honey-ish, but...
Yeah, so you're picking up more oxidation.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
So you think these ones might have just been just dead in the water.
So, full disclosure, I picked both of these beers up at the clearance one-off end cap at a liquor store. I got them because I was like, oh yeah, Kolsch, let's do a Kolsch episode.
Yeah, we need a Kolsch episode.
But I kind of picked them up off season. I think Kolsch's are usually, they come out late spring and then through the summer. I picked these up in the winter, so they'd probably already been on the shelf for several months.
Could be. Golly. That's unfortunate for both of these.
Yeah, but some styles, if you grab a barrel aged stout,
they a lot of the Belgian, get better with age.
And a lot of the Belgian beers, things like that, can age really, really well.
Yeah,
Kolsch's
didn't translate.
No, absolutely not. And it even says that in the BJCP guidelines that they should be consumed extremely fresh.
Okay.
So
we might need to do a redemption episode for these ones.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah.
Boulevard and Solemn Oath, if you would just want to send us some very fresh beer, we would definitely appreciate giving you guys a better score.
Definitely no knock on either of these breweries, because I've had some great beers. I think it's really just a testament to the Kolsch style, how delicate it is, and how it really needs to be drunk extremely fresh.
Yeah, I've had good Boulevard beers. I trust Boulevard. I know Boulevard does a good job. So.
Their smokestack series is phenomenal.
I don't know if I've had that, but it sounds like a beer I want to have.
They come in like those like really big, like kind of fancy bottles, not like the Bombers, but like the 750 milliliter like bottles.
Yeah.
And
series.
Just like all kinds of really wild, like experimental or like big, bold flavors. In those, so
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No, for sure.
Interesting.
So yeah,
but we're in layperson mode.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, so I'm drinking it.
Yeah.
I get some honey sweetness and a very slight like vinous, like almost like vinegary or like slightly like wine-like quality to it.
Interesting. Yeah, I can picture that. Okay.
Which are all signs of oxidation. And probably at more extreme than what we had in the other one. So
this one's possibly even older.
Or it's symptoms of oxidation could be presenting itself differently.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So here we go. Even when I try to be a layperson, I just go right into Professor Beer mode.
Well, and I feel like, the layperson having this, they're at their local craft beer bar.
Yeah.
And they say, give me the Boulevard. Let me try that Kolsch. That one sounds like something. They get it. They might not even know what a Kolsch really is.
Yeah.
I don't want to come off sounding like a beer elitist, but, you might not know that honey is a sign of oxidation, or even that oxidation is a bad thing, or even that oxidation is a thing that exists in beer.
Yeah.
So.
No, like, really trying to shut my mind off and just kind of like, okay, throw it back. Yeah, it's pretty good. A little undercarbed, I would say.
Yeah.
I like having that foam, those bubbles, but it's kind of laying flat on my tongue.
Right.
And the flavor's not bad. It's pretty balanced and pretty refreshing, mild, not very aggressive flavors in the beer at all.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of right there in the strike zone for Kolsch.
Yeah, it says on the can, crisp, dry, and delicious. Would you agree with any of those?
Let me see. I think if it was more well carbonated, that can contribute to like a crisper aspect to me. Dry, I would definitely call it dry because it doesn't finish like sweet at all. Like it finishes, and you want to have another sip.
Yeah, and that's such an odd thing because it does finish a small bit of sweet for me, but like not like I guess it would be a testament to that honey-ish oxidation quality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's a little like oxidative sweetness, but really I think the base beer is pretty dry. Delicious. I think the fresh example would be very delicious.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. I would say that it's not bad. It falls short of delicious.
And
I think
this particular can.
This particular can, exactly.
Okay.
So and I think in beer judging,
yeah.
you evaluate what is in the glass, not what you think that beer could be or should be.
No, yeah,
or has been.
I feel like that's a dangerous place to go, is trying to judge what a beer should be, what this beer might have been a couple months ago.
Right.
Okay,
so I will definitely look for this fresh though,
yeah.
as I will with the Solemn Oath, because I thought both.
Yeah.
I could taste, and the base beers underneath some of like the oxidative, the flatness, and some of like the hops falling back.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell there's some really nice base beer there.
We will try again Boulevard and Solemn Oath.
Yes. So learn from our mistake. Drink your Kolsch's fresh. Buy your Kolsch's fresh.
Yep.
And I would say brew them fresh and don't sit around on them. I think these are it's a great introductory beer to brew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you buy them in the clearance bin at the end of winter, it's definitely a spring, summer kind of beer. It happens.
My mistake. My mistake.
We all make mistakes.
See if you can get some fresher versions of the Kolsch and let us know in the comments what you thought of them. Otherwise, tune in later this summer where we will brew a Kolsch and have some fresher examples of these beers.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you're still here? You must be wondering about that alt beer we brewed the other day on Big Brew Day. A few hours after brew day, we saw some activity in the airlock. By the next day, it was really taking off. Come back next time to check on the end of primary fermentation.